right, welcome everybody listening from all around the world, all around this beautiful blue-green planet we call Gaia. Welcome everybody listening here in Australia, this beautiful country of ours. Welcome to the Mystic Drop, where each week we try and journey down the road less traveled by, as the great Robert Frost once poetically put. I am your host, Roberto Roya. Joining me today, Jamie and Maggie Clark. Jamie and Maggie are the hosts of Psychic Evolution, a spiritual podcast that helps its listeners discover their psychic potential within and learn how to empower themselves and manifest their psychic and mediumship abilities. Jamie and Maggie are both well-renowned psychic coaches and evidential psychic mediums. Together, they bring a high energy and beautiful wisdom to the spiritual community. I'd like to give a very warm welcome to Jamie and Maggie. How you going, guys?
Hey,
Great.
Roberto, thank you for having us on. We're honored. I
It's a
appreciate
pleasure
this.
to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've been following you guys for a while now, and it's just to finish off the year with you two is a real honor and a dream come true as well.
Awesome. The same.
Yeah.
And again, be open for growth, because this is just the beginning for you. Just the beginning.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot. Before we get into things, I've got a mystic drop incantation that I like to share with my guests, and it goes like this. We're three now. So usually
That's a kind of symbolic number.
Yeah, that's it. We're three cosmic spiritual beings sitting around the campfire. 3 drops of light from the Great Spirit. Truth is our path, and wisdom is our teacher. We start with a salute, and now let our magic flow.
Salud.
Love and light to you and the all that is.
Oh yeah, straight back at you. All right, yep, you go.
It's nice when you can give a platform for people to share, because I think that's becoming a big dynamic for humanity, is with this separation of, humanity. It's becoming, I just want to know that I matter. I just want to know that you're talking with me and not just to me. And so it's really nice to see such a tremendous amplified energy that people are just really being activated. The very thing that's kind of cocooned everyone is allowing them to wake up and connect with themselves again, which is beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And, before I started this, I was like searching YouTube, and I couldn't really find conversations with psychics. It was always like, a psychic on stage doing a performance or something in front of an audience, getting a couple of people up, but never a deep conversation into their lives, into their philosophies, wisdoms, and all that. So, that's why I started this show and to kick this off and have some really interesting conversations. So
excellent. And that's another reason why we started this. 1, because we're an amazing team and we love each other. But 2, the potential for everyone. We want to help everyone else to realize their abilities. Because to me, everybody is a psychic medium. If you've got a soul, you're a psychic medium. Now it's the ability of people starting to wake up, kind of work within that, and then use it at their own ability. Because I think that that's another dynamic that for many years, most of us tend to think that our abilities control us. And I'm like, nope, it's actually the opposite around, because you control your abilities. Because I see a lot of people who are, starting to activate, and sometimes they start picking up the negative energy as and they'll be like, if that's all I'm going to say, then I don't want to do this. Blah, blah, blah. Right. So they just turn the volume down. You never turn it off, because it's part of our soul, part of consciousness. But that way they can balance the practicality. They don't want to be too distracted by all this information. So I'm seeing a lot more as they've gained years of wisdom and grown into their life. They're now activating enough to go, but there's more to it than this. Yeah. Okay. And I love that people are opening up and soul searching. And I always say, please be skeptical, question everything, just be open.
Yeah, just listen to your heart. And that's what I've done with you guys. Like when you guys speak and you bounce off each other, I just feel it in my heart. And you can tell when truth is being spoken, No one's bullshitting around here. So that's
the great thing, is the very people that we've always been that may not have quite been appreciated and understood by one, completely loved and expected and connected with us by us, just the same person. So it's brilliant how that co-creation of life can actually give you those dreams that manifest. It's not just someday, it's yeah, but this is real. Now that we've got this amazing, let's do more.
Yeah.
Because I just like to have those validations along the way.
Yeah.
What an amazing. I call her Saint Maggie. She put up with me. She's a saint.
See, he speaks truth.
That's right. There you go.
That's smart.
That's awesome. Now, before we get into like the deep rabbit holes here, I always love to hear stories about how people met, how they connected, and would you please share with us on of listening to you guys? I've always wondered on how you guys spiritually connected and your universes collide.
Yeah, we were both working in the same business field. So myself and two other women up in Prescott, Arizona, were putting on spiritual events. And Jamie was our headliner, basically, to do mediumship readings, gallery readings for the audience. And so I had met him and we knew each other for a couple years just in this business realm, really friendly, just, working together, whenever we had these events. And it was an interesting time in my life. I was going through the transformation of what's next, and I'd been hearing for years that something big was coming, but nothing had been revealed. I'd be like, Spirit, this is not the way my life's supposed to look. Like, I love my life, but this isn't it. It's not it. At this time, something's shifting. And they would just say, there's something big coming. There's something big coming. And I was like, okay. Can I get any more than that? No. Okay. So I was just running on faith at this point that, my life was going to shift and change and there was other things coming, but I had no idea what. So I was sitting with a friend one day and, I was like, I really actually have to start dating again, because I'd been single for a while and I was working, coming home, having a glass of wine, going to sleep, working, coming home, having a glass, like the same routine over and over again. It's like, well, where am I going to meet people in this day and age? I'm a little bit older, don't really want to go to the bars too much. You can't really talk in a library, I try to meet people in the grocery store, but nobody wants to talk about vegetables, what's
That's right, exactly.
How do you date anymore?
Are you a vegetable?
So my friend was like, try some dating sites, some online sites. So that's what I did. And I went out on some pretty horrific dates. And I mean, they were fun and they were nice, but it is when you are in a spiritual community talking about energy dynamics and spirit communication and all these things, it's not always that you find those people in those dating sites. So I found that I'd had to describe and talk about energy for 2 hours just for someone to understand what I was going to say next,
Yeah.
And I was filling in so much of the background that I was like, okay, this has got to stop, they were lovely people, but I was just, my brain was somewhere else, my level of awareness was at a different place. And so I said, I guess I just have to try to date in my community, I'll have to just go to my spiritual community and just, see, what I'm attracted to and kind of scope it out in a different way. And so we were having another event and Jamie was coming, like, oh, Jamie's always a nice guy. I wonder if he's single, right? Who knows, right? And I knew previously he hadn't been single. So my friend who was putting on the event with me, she was bringing Jamie to the television station to do the interview for the promo and everything. And I said, well, find out if he's single, because she's known him for some years. And so she's like, oh yeah, he's single. You should call him. And I said, no. Ask him if I can call him on a personal level, not a professional level, make sure that we're going to go to this place and it's okay with him that I contact him personally, not just professionally. And of course he said yes. So I just said, all right, what do I got to lose? Right. So I called him up. He never answers his phone and still never answers his phone, even though we're married.
There you go.
Cool.
Nothing changes. Everything changes sometimes. And so I called him up and I said, Jamie, I'd love to go out on a date with you. I heard you were single and, if you'd like to, that's great. If not, I'll see you tomorrow because we had something going on the next day. And he said, oh, I'd love to. And so we had to schedule a date because our calendars were all like this. And that's how we got together. And I think after the first date, we both knew that the connection was so intense
and effortless
and special.
Yeah.
And then a couple of, I think right after our second date, his mom, who's in spirit, came and talked to me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 4 a.m. She woke me up and she's like, "Oh, I've got to tell you these things." I'm like, "Okay." And she spoke to me for a lengthy amount of time, sharing with me all these things about Jamie, all these things about his childhood. And I said, "Why are you telling me all this?" She's like, "You're just going to need to know." And I'm like,
"Good luck."
Okay. So, at that point, I'm like, who is this guy? Right? Like his mom's already coming to me, telling me about him. Like, okay. So yeah,
Wow.
that's how we met.
What a beautiful story.
Yeah.
I love
and
that.
the great thing is the whole time we've been in the same arena. She has her spirituality, I have mine. We're allowed to accept ourselves and others for who they are. And that's why I say, I was married to a lovely lady, but we went in different directions and I couldn't keep living for others and not myself.
Yeah.
And so once I had left, the timing was divine, literally.
Yeah.
So that as things were lining up, Mag and I got a chance to meet on a professional level first, never crossed the line ever.
Yeah.
And then once things shifted, it just fell right into place. Because after that first night, we were hooked. We were on.
Yeah, that's it. And then you don't have to spend 2 hours and trying to make the other person understand what you're on about.
And that's the point.
Absolutely right. Yeah. I could spend 2 hours talking about like, oh, this was my journey and this how it was.
Exactly.
And this is how it affected me,
Exactly.
But not only that, being on the same channel, I'd meet people and couples that were together 50 years, we're finishing each other's sentences. We're doing that now, man. And it's only been 6 years that we've been together. But not only that, was such a great connection. She would be traveling up to Prescott, which is in Arizona here. And as she was coming back, I'd get a mind impulse and a picture of either margarita or a beer or a glass of wine. And I'd just have it sitting there waiting for her. And in the beginning, it was like, wow, like, yeah, well, that's communication. Because all you have to do is open up. But I also learned very quickly what her soul print feels like. So I knew any information coming from that soul print was her. No guesswork, solid knowingness. And so the great thing is we were able to share those types of things in a playful, fun way to go, it's fun. I approach this with fun, not serious.
And we still practice. If he goes to the store, I might impulse something, see if he picks it up or not, just to see like if he's listening or if I'm sending really clearly. So
I'm sending you a picture, boy. You getting it?
Totally.
Well, it takes the relationship to another level as well, because it makes it fun. It's spiritual interactive as well. And which I'm sure you're both into.
And so nourishing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's magical.
The nice thing about dating and marrying a psychic of Jamie's caliber is that you can't hide things from him. Like even if you try to keep a skeleton in your closet, he'd feel it. He would feel it. And whether he would ask about it or not, maybe not, maybe he'd respect the closet being closed, right? But he knows what's in there.
Yeah.
And so that's something nice also, is because someone is so in tune, it allows you to open and allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow yourself to be felt, allow yourself to be heard, and allow yourself to be seen in a way that most people in relationships won't open up that quickly. They'll take their time, like taking their armor off their heart, so to speak, or at least, I don't know. There's something about Jamie that when we started really having these conversations, he read right through everything to the core of it. And I was like, I can't hide from this person. Like, I think that is one of the main reasons I think I could marry him, is that I couldn't hide from him. And I knew it. And I love that. I could always be my authentic self.
Yeah.
And that she didn't have to hide. She could just be her.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
That is the complete acceptance.
When you can just let everything go and delve into,
and they
that
get
person.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Not like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
It's all right. And, that kind of conversation, because at our level, now we have great communication skills, not only for the day-to-day beautiful aspects, but for the big old freaking elephant in the room that most people don't address, and it crushes their relationship. I'm like, man, communication doesn't have to be domination. It's share, understand, talk.
Exactly.
All of those.
Don't let things go stale. Open it up and let the water flow,
Yeah. Because most of us don't address it, and they let it just crush everything. It's like, oh, I thought it really, did you? Address it then. Exactly. It doesn't always have to be the big stuff.
Another thing I've been curious about is how did your spiritual journey start for both of you in this incarnation anyway?
I'm the oddball, man. I had to start at a very young age, and I am very honored and thankful because my mom was an amazing psychic medium. I got to study with her for 20 years, and the whole family used their abilities, so they were very open. My initiation was at 5 years old when I was walking from the living room into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And my mom was a couple of feet behind me. As I crossed the threshold from the living room into the kitchen, I was just stopped in my tracks. And this warmth, there's always a warmth for me, just comes washing over me. And then floating off to the left-hand side above the kitchen table is Jesus, the Christ, with his arms down like this. And he had spaceships over his shoulders. And whoom, I was instantly uploaded, not downloaded, because we already have everything within. But from that moment on, I just felt people's energies. I'm a little kid going, hi, I know I don't know you. Can I say something to you? And, the adults would start freaking out going, how do you know that? And in the beginning, when I was there doing that, they didn't know how to react. This is a kid. But not only that, for the experience that I had, my mom wasn't seeing anything. And she's like, are you okay? What's going on? And it lasted about 10 seconds. And after that, we got out and we had a typewriter. We didn't have computers back then, but typed up. And I felt compelled to take that out and write, P.S. I was not afraid. Now realizing all of these years later that the Christ consciousness, it's not the only planet that we've connected with.
Right.
Is the unification of oneness.
Wow. And for you, mate? Yeah. Sorry, you go.
Go right ahead.
When I was little, I would talk to spirits, but I did close it off. I got really scared of one of the spirits and shut down for many years. And I had two very profound spiritually awakening experiences at the age of 19 and 20, like back to back. And the first experience, I woke up my Kundalini without knowing what I was doing. I was practicing moving energy through my body. And I slipped into almost like a dream state, which is more like of an astral state, actually. And I met my soul essence. And she appeared to me in human form, I think because I was comfortable with that. And I was like, oh, you're like, she appeared to me as my ideal female, really, really
Right,
like
okay.
nothing that looks like me because, that wasn't ideal back then. But she appears to me and she goes, okay, clasp my hands. And I put my hands like this. And she goes, no. Right hand on top, left hand on the bottom, right hand to give, left hand to receive. And we clasped hands and this jolt of energy like coursed through my whole body. It was like lightning. And I was just like, what it was the most profound energy awakened state I think I've ever felt. Wow. Like that intensely. And I woke up and I was completely paralyzed for about 5 minutes and I freaked myself out. I was scared at this point. And so I decided I wasn't going to work with my energy until I found a teacher. I was like, whew. And then a couple months later, I had another transforming moment where I received a tarot reading that was about my soul's path, basically. What's your purpose, your soul purpose? And the reading lasted an hour, and it was like everything that I felt within my being that I had never had words for, and all the truth that was spoken. I was like, oh my God, I know who I am now, at least the beginning part of it. So those two experiences happened within a few months of each other. And then at that point, I also found my teacher who could teach me about energy and other things. So it was two profound experiences that just woke up my energy and then woke up my consciousness.
Yeah, wow. That's so interesting that because I've had a couple of other psychics on the show and they've said that they've had those, spiritual experiences and then they've been introduced to, a teacher or mentor that has helped build those psychic abilities. So yeah, that's really interesting that you say that.
Well, and do it with some comfort and solid knowingness to go, okay, it's not one of them people. It's this feels right. And you know what? They're speaking to my soul, not just my mind.
Yeah.
And that's like the old school, right? When you actually have a mentor, when you're and that's how my learning was. I followed him around like a little bunny rabbit, but watched everything he did, learned from him. I got to sit on so many soul readings, like just as an observer, because I was basically like an apprentice, and I was just gobbling it up, like how he formed the relationships from one card to this. And then we could have really cool discussions about it. He had founded a huge astrology program in the Midwest. So he was like really good at astrology, really good at psychic. He was also a trance channel. So I got to experience a lot of different types of vibrations of energy working with him and just watching. And it was like the most amazing relationship I have ever had in my whole life. I mean, this guy's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, this relationship is the most amazing now. But in my life then, that was definitely, oh my God, it was profound. And I wasn't just not a typical person. Like, I knew as soon as I woke up spiritually, I had to let my old life go. I had to stop doing what I was doing, stop getting drunk at bars and doing all the things you shouldn't be doing. At 20, that's what you have fun, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I just stopped at that point. I was just like, all right, I'm going to stop everything in my tracks, and this is what I'm going to focus on. So I spent all of my 20s and most of my 30s really finally tuning the ability to read energy, through different modalities. And it was awesome.
Yeah. One of the most mysterious things that I think that we have as human beings is that journey home. A lot of people are scared about the physical body dying and us going home. For people that are scared, how would you describe making that transition back home?
Just to be, to allow it. There are so many times, and for me, it seems to be out of the blue. It's just like, oh, okay. I'm sitting there, and every time I unify, I become what. There is no separation of anything. It is all truly interconnected, and it's like the best mood that you've ever been in, the best meal that you have ever had. Every time I connect, my soul is full. Love, unconditional, us as eternal beings, not only from this universe and others, but completely accepted. And the words that come to me each and every time I have that experience, who are you now?
Yeah.
Because I always say we only live one life, an eternal life, but each life is a minute in the hour in the day, and each of those days goes into our Solodex as an eternal being of life experience. Yeah. So you never let and release anything. You just release your focus to that. Your Solodex registers everything in every way.
Why is it that when we do incarnate into the physical, it's just shut off? All those memories of being back home. It
allows you the forgettery. That way you give yourself the gift of living, the gift of living in the present. Because otherwise you're so distracted with where you've been and who am I and where the heck am I going? Man, just do you, be in the moment, and each moment builds upon itself. And it's that kind of connection that, in doing this in the beginning can be a little scary going, I want to make sure I'm not one of them. That's why I've always questioned it. But being able to put the practicality and from a young age to be comfortable to use this has been a huge blessing.
Yeah.
I also feel we come in with veils and we choose those. Like if this is an experiential planet. And so because of that, we can experience a lot of different things while we're here. We can do bad things. We do good things. There's so many types of experiences we can have. So we choose the veils that we want to come in so that we have a certain flow of energy that allows us to experience whatever we need for our soul's growth or soul's purpose. So if you're here, I believe everyone has chosen to be here. I believe that there's a reason for it. And sometimes it's for your own soul development. Sometimes it's for the expansion of consciousness of humanity. I mean, it could be, or a bunch of those reasons. So whatever you need, you kind of take this filtration system or this veil system, and you're like, okay, I need a little bit here. I can't be too conscious. Oops, sorry. I can't be too conscious here. I've got to like work out the kinks, and you funnel energy through those veils. Now, Jamie, being born into a psychic medium family, he had some kind of veil that just got basically, he didn't need it after 5 years old. He was ready to upload because he was going to be supported in that development. Now, if he didn't have a mom that was a psychic medium, maybe he would need that till later on. right? So it doesn't mean that these veils are permanent. Some of them, I believe, have to be permanent because we have to incarnate and we have to learn how to get embodied and get in our bodies. And so we all have the incarnation veils that you need to actually stay in the body and do what you need to do here on the planet.
That's why they call it human beings, because we're being human in this life,
right,
in this particular dimension and planet.
And that's what should be taught more in schools, and for the kids that are growing up, instead of thinking and being taught that this is who you are, because we're so much more than that.
Well, yeah, in the practicality of spirituality, that reincarnation, and people are like, well, how's that possible? But I believe that basically science has found that about every 7 years, you have pretty much a whole new body, almost 50 trillion cells. If you have pretty much a whole new body every 7 years, who is the constant thinker, the constant you within all of those new bodies? Soul part of consciousness.
It's so funny that exactly. It's so funny that you just mentioned reincarnation, because I was just going there in the next.
More psychic like.
Yeah, that's it. So like I've got a lot of tattoos here, and some people come up to me, oh, what do they mean? Why did you get why'd you get this one? Why'd you get that one? And I say to them that it's I feel like it's my spiritual journey. It's my spiritual diary that I've put on myself. In terms of reincarnation, because I'm really into this topic. In your own journeys, what time periods or other universes, other planets that you've both felt like you've gone through?
Oh, that's like a loaded question. I don't even know where to begin. Right after my spiritual awakening, I had, I don't know, a 6 to 8 month period of remembering at least 30 to 40 past lives. And since then, I remember them when I need them. I remember them when they're important to what I'm experiencing. And the ones that I remembered then were important to what I had experienced up until that point of my life. So, gosh, I mean, when you talk about reincarnation, I mean, pick a time period. I'll tell you if I was there.
Yeah, wow.
What
are some that you connect with?
Ooh, so I definitely connect to a few Egyptian lives very strongly. There's some Celtic and Druid lives that I connect with. When I spent some time in France, I dreamed fluently in French, like complete fluent French in my dream state. So I know I've spent some lifetimes there. I have a couple memories of
But
lifetimes
you don't
there.
speak French.
No, I speak French, but not that fluently.
Did you understand a lot of what was being shared?
I understood about half of it, because in my dream, I was talking so fast, and in my waking world, I couldn't follow that quickly. I think I was in high school at the time. And so that was my first recognition, even in high school, going, whoa, how did I know this language so well? And, I've remembered some Native American lifetimes. I've remembered some alien lifetimes. So, we could pick a time period and I could tell you, I've remembered some Asian lifetimes, ancient China. But all of them, I remembered some horrific lifetimes too. When you're going through not so fun things, sometimes you have to remember those. But in all of them, there's a message of, hey, you've been here, you've done this. This was the energy present here. This might be the energy similar to what you're experiencing now. So what is the message for you? What is the wisdom, the soul wisdom, or the Akashic records, or whatever we want to call that, that's opening up for you to learn about who you are right now? I feel sometimes we get so locked into the excitement of remembering a past life, and like, oh, I was a this and I was a that, and it was cool. I'm like, oh, guess what? You're still that right here, right now. What does that mean? If you're remembering that you are royalty then can you bring that into your life now? What does it mean to be sovereign or royal or whatever that vibe might be right here, right now? Yeah. And I think that's the most important part, because this whole life is a lifetime of self-discovery. And if we do have memories of other lifetimes, other incarnations, whether they're on this planet or other planets, it's all to tune us into the vibration we're experiencing in the present as well.
Yeah. And there are other times it's not a memory, it's a real experience going on now. Just to my awareness, we are multidimensional beings. This is not the only you that exists. And not only that, this is not the only, to my awareness, not the only world, nor the only vehicle that you've been in. And I always share the fact, with the mediumship, what about all of the other lifetimes? When you're doing mediumship, they'll usually come back as the person who they were in their last life. So it's familiar in that. They're not coming back as Joe Schmo. It becomes a very vibrational frequency. They'll match that. And then, the mediumship and the psychic, I have seen so much of my own life experience. I've been shown so much of my experience that I've gotten a lot of healing from, some of the stuff as a kid that was just like, wow. I now go, oh yeah, that experience. It's been such a soul sensitizing way for myself that I've gained a lot of insight as that eternal being and the breath of life, because I always say we only live our life in one breath. For when we come in, we breathe in, and when we go out, we breathe out. The trick is just breathe, and in between that is life itself. Without that breath, you're not living. So it becomes a lot of those practical ways. And, it takes a pretty open mind and soul to be able to kind of register some of these realities. Go, really? This is not the only you existing on other planets, other dimensions? Nope. We are multidimensional. And there's been an infusion and integration of my soul print of consciousness with a variety of other me's from other universes, dimensions. I'm just like, holy stuff, man. Because this is happening, but it's out of the blue. It's not like I'm sitting there doing all the meditations. It's day-to-day living. Just right there, man. Just happens.
Oh, what a beautiful way to put that. And, you can see that when we dream at night, we're traveling into our other selves, into those other spaces that we exist as well. So it's fascinating stuff.
And then when you can be in the world, but not necessarily of it, and realize we're the eternal beings, there's many other lifetimes, it gives you more of a chance to find yourself within life and find that life within you. Becomes a huge dynamic. Now we are starting to become those inner space astronauts, discovering who we truly are, which is everything. It's all one.
Yeah, that's right. When I was a kid, I used to have this reoccurring dream. How old was I? I think I was about 4 or 5. And I had this reoccurring dream where I found myself in this I'm talking black void, where I could feel myself. And I could hear my thoughts, but it's like I couldn't move. I was stuck, and it was really scary for a kid. When I grew up, I and became more spiritual and delved into those realms. I understood that I've been in this place, in this spiritual space, and then I've heard of stories of people that have passed over and have found themselves in this black void, in this spirit space. From your own teachings, your own wisdoms, if a being finds themselves in this space, what would you recommend to get back to the light?
Woo! Freaking hang on. There's been a time in my life where I did go to that void. It was freaking freaky. Nothing but blackness. And, I started feeling like, am I in the freaking ocean? Because what's around? Is there something? Is there nothing? And I'm like, whoa. And it was pointed out from my awareness that black nothingness, the void, is the pure potential of creating everything. The nothingness that is the potential for everythingness.
It's like the blank page,
exactly.
for you to write on.
Yeah. Right. Light is information, love is creation. So when it's completely pitched in that way, any idea, any information becomes a light vibration. Now it's the energy and information that's permeating through that, because there's completely open receptivity. Nothing else designed in that void. It's open to your conscious awareness.
Yeah. Wow. And why do beings get put in that place to begin with?
I don't know. It's funny, but it happened. And firsthand experience is real. Secondhand's lovely, but when you have going, I don't understand it, but I just experienced it, it will take you out of your mind and put you into your soul.
Yeah.
And that's when, it was like, whoa, that was huge. But then many years of studying and all that kind of good stuff, I found that that void is that potential of initiation, and possibly why some people find themselves in the void. What if that's the beginning? Because as we die, as we perceive it here, you're reborn into the next one. Aren't we living on the other side of where we come from before here? Woo, right. We're ETs to everyone else. It's very relative to me.
Yeah, exactly. And for people that are, wanting to connect more with their spirit guides, their angels and stuff like that, I know you guys have really cool practical techniques that you share with your audience. Please share and how we can get more in tune with those beings.
So what, we dedicated, I think the first season, especially the first season of our podcast, just to have a lot of foundational episodes. And in those, we help people build what's called a spiritual room.
Yeah.
And it's in that room that you can start working with your psychic gifts very
And
consciously
safely.
and safely. And we talk a lot about how to feel safe as you go forward, because that's an important piece of any type of spiritual development. And then working with our guides, actually, what we do is we talk people into this garden where you ask a guide to sit in front of you. And you create 2 chairs. This is all in your mind sight. You create 2 chairs, you relax into it. It's almost a meditative place. And you just ask your guides or guide to sit with you. And then you just feel what you feel and you have conversations. And then you learn how to listen and you learn how to speak and you learn how to communicate with your guides. We really recommend working with a master guide or a higher self. If you're not sure of who your guides are right away, it's a great, because that guide can then introduce your other guides to you in a very comfortable, safe way. I think the most important thing about working with spirit guides is we want to know when we're talking to spirit that we're talking to someone good, right? And that it's a positive vibe. And so we really build it out so that you can practice working with your higher self, your master guide, whoever you're most familiar with. So when your other guides come, you can ask, okay, master guide or higher self, why don't you bring another guide, another one of my guides in today? And there's 3 chairs there, or just 2 chairs, and they just drops them off and leaves, whatever it looks like. You can also practice this in your spiritual room, in your meditation states, where you're like, all right, I'm going to have a conversation. Because when we're working with spirit guides, we have to remember it's like picking up the phone to call a friend.
Yeah.
Your guides are waiting for you to pick up the phone. And then it's your job to listen. And that takes practice. If we're not used to hearing our guides, having that 2-way conversation, how are they going to communicate with you? Is it through visions? Is it through something that you feel in your heart? Will you hear something? Will you smell something? How are they going to be able to communicate with you? And how can you listen? And so it's a practice. It's not something, some people can do this with a snap of their fingers just because they pick up a phone. For others, we have to learn how to trust what we're feeling, trust how we're receiving information. And I think that's the big key, is receiving, allowing ourselves to be receptive to an outside energy of communication. I feel like this is very, very natural for us when we come into this lifetime. I think most people who don't have a ton of veils, right? Most people have a conversation with spirit. They're connected to that spirit realm really intimately until we grow up and realize, I got to get a little bit more planted here on earth, or whatever that looks like. Now, rebuilding that connection, so we're still planted on earth and having that communication, it's always there. It's just, how do we tap in? How do we listen? So we recommend meditation for sure. Active meditation, where you're actually talking and then listening, and then working within your own spiritual room. So when you're developing the skill set to listen, to hear, that you have a sense of control over it. Like, I didn't hear anything. Let me see if I could turn the volume button up. I didn't see that clearly. Let me see if I can clear up that screen a little bit, whatever that might be. And it is literally something that we call it a practice, because you have to show up and you have to practice. We're exercising our psychic muscles. And when we haven't used them in certain ways, they get tired easy. And then, you can't shoot a free flow, a free throw.
Same, whatever.
You know, until you develop the alignment, the muscles, the structure, the stance, you know, how you're going to aim the ball. All of these things come, and it takes practice. When I was a kid, I wanted to do a free throw, literally, but I practiced for 3 or 4 hours. You know, did I get back out and practice more? Of course I did. Did I make that free throw that day? No, I did not, you know, but I went back out and I practiced and I developed those muscles. And it's the same thing when we're working with our guides.
And the ability to get some solid validation that this stuff is real. That's why I always say, please, you know, question all of it. But I also wanted to know who my master guide is. And so for many years, you know, I've always been connected, but I only knew him as a master guide. And so I was doing a meditation in between. I used to work at hospitality 17 years. And it was a lot of fun, always about being of service. But during my visual, I asked my master guide to come before me. And as he comes from my right side into the left, where I can see him mind sight wise, he has regular hands, human hands, a white robe, and he had a rainbow head of light. I'm like, what the? I've never seen a rainbow head of light. Yeah. And so as it's gone along, he's given me the physical appearance. But I have people ask your guides, who are they? How long have we worked together? In what ways? And then I said, you know what, for Chi, do you have a name that I can call you besides Master Guide? And he's like, well, yeah, my name's Chi. I'm like, oh, Chi, that's cute. Life force energy. Please prove it to me. Show me that word Chi in my day-to-day living so that I know that this is good, because I haven't seen that word in a while. And so I was in between, and about 20 minutes later, I was down at the banquet area, and I was supervising a bar area, and we had these BEO, banquet event orders, and it was an Italian name. And I'm like, I can't pronounce the name. And so one of the bartenders comes over and he covers up all of the letters except for the first 3, CHI. I'm like, oh, you freaking did it. Because I wanted to know if this is real and we've got this connection. I think that you're willing to work with me to get me that connection. 20 minutes later, it happened. That's why I say, make the connections, be completely open and receptive, and then ask for validation. And through the meditation is how we learn how we think. Prayer is talking. Meditation is listening. Most of us are very good at talking. We don't trust what we get. And the ability to have a guide, in this case, that you do have a trust factor, that you know for the most part they are genuine and that they're usually right. There's no guarantee and there is no destiny. You know, I always say, if you really think you're destined for anything, tell me you can't take your life now or now or now. Where'd that destiny? Yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy. But our guides are always talking with us, not just to us, but it's, are we listening? And kind of like Mag was sharing is they're not going to make you tune in. It's that they've been there. And when you're ready, if you are, they are. This is usually not the only life that we have lived as a team.
And what a beautiful way to, you know, for that validation as well. And when you get that validation, the feeling that you get, when you saw Chi, you must have been like, oh my God, this
it's real.
Next level
I
stuff.
Needed to, yeah, because now I know I'm not just making stuff up. Yeah, it's like, that's right. Okay, and I questioned it too.
And you're not crazy.
Well, and that's the point, because you also do the best you can. You need to know when you're thinking your thoughts and when you're picking up someone else's energy field. Otherwise, because people don't always know, they're like, I feel all tired. I get all energy sucked dry. I'm like, yeah, well, it's because you're not putting any safety mechanisms. You know, I'm really into that Dr. Masaru Emoto and the cellular, well, the water structure, molecular structure of water that holds thought patterns, thought within it. I always share the fact that if you're doing mediumship or psychic, you're connecting with thought patterns. If you are not cleaning and clearing your energy and cellular structure, you're going to start to wear other people's energies. I love you. I'll breathe the energy in and take it with you because I ain't wearing it. Because otherwise you'll get toxic. And then a lot of people, you'll literally start to wear other people's conscious energy. And it's like, every time I get around, I get all drained and right. So now it's a dynamic that for me, I'm always proactive. I have got those safety mechanisms in place always on autopilot. Yeah. I don't want to go to, did I remember to say, yeah, frick that. It's confidence when you can back it, cockiness when you can't. I make sure I'm confident because I'm the only one who's doing this. I'd better feel safe.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I feel like where we are in history right now, it's such an important time in the human history. How do you guys see this all playing out, you know, in the next, 10, 20, 30 years, even 50 years?
Oh my gosh. So I love this question because this is my life purpose. I'm here to help expand the consciousness of humanity, whether
Yeah.
it's one person at a time, one podcast at a time, doesn't make any difference. What it's about, though, is all of us finding who we are and having the willingness to be who we are. Just like Jamie says, we're eternal souls. Can we be that? Will we allow ourselves to have that amount of power? Will we allow ourselves to have that amount of reverence? Or are we going to keep looking at ourselves as little earthlings? And we are earthlings, right? And there's nothing little about an earthling. But will we allow ourselves to embody the eternal nature and the eternal essence of who we are? That's our job. And I find that the human potential is amazing. I have glimpses of it. I have a lot of understanding of it. I know it combines the awareness of your life force energy. The soul connects to your life force energy in your root chakra. There's a direct connect to your soul essence, to your oversoul. Now, the more that you can allow the embodiment of that energy in a physical vehicle, this is the human potential. We can call it the ascension if you want, or we can say we're moving into the golden age. No one really knows what that looks like. What I know is that if we allow ourselves to be who we are, find out who we are in an eternal nature, and allow ourselves to be that in a space of love and light, we will be guided into every step of what's coming. And I think that's what is the most important thing, is whatever we're teaching, whatever we're doing right now is going to always be something that can help guide you into who you are, so you feel confident going into any experience that this world has to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. And what are your thoughts, Jamie?
Yeah, the same thing. And also, this is the tipping point of consciousness, 51%. That's why I always say the entire planet's consciousness was reset. It's not a country against a country. It's a virus against the world. Separate them, neutralize them, break them down, and let's see the rippling effect. You're only a conspiracy nut till it's validated. Anywho, within that, there's a lot of dynamics that we have to find our own truth, whatever way that is. And not everyone perceives reality the same way. And if we can learn to just be aware of our own the best that we can, because we are always growth-seeking beings, no matter how many dreams, how many aspirations in life we have, once we attain them, we have more. Half the fun's the journey getting there. And most of us are like, yeah, this is friggin' great. And because they're always trying to survive. And instead of surviving, just start living. Yeah. And when you can use your own intuitive abilities, and that these abilities are so natural, they're supernatural, truly they're first nature, the essence of our being, not second nature. And when we realize that we are all interconnected, that the ocean of consciousness, the ocean is the droplet is the ocean. But if that's too much to accept, okay, stay a little droplet, because you never do. Mm-hmm. And I think that being left in our own little droplet as we perceive it is allowing ourselves to find ourselves within life more effectively at the moment, with less distraction and more integration of your own personal inner journey.
Yeah. Go, Maggie.
I've prepared for the end of the world, so to speak, for like most of my life. Actually, when I was 20, I started learning about the pole shifts and how every 26,000 years the earth shifts on its axis. And it's that we're due. We're like right now in history, we're due for this. Yeah. Studying astrology, I know every 2,000 years there's a shift of an age. We are shifting from a Piscean age to an Aquarian age. So you have not only a shift of an age, you have a shift of the whole earth. She might hiccup and we might all fall in the ocean. Yeah. I have seen the potential of this since I was 20 years old. And so I said, well, what am I going to do? How do I support that vision? Like, it's scary when you think about it. And my mentor says you are a palm bearer to the old age and a midwife to the new age. So you have to figure out how to bury the old age, the old consciousness, and how to give birth to a new level of consciousness. And that's painful. Death and birth can be painful, right? And so when we look at that, and I looked at that, I said, well, what can I do? And the only thing that I can do at the age of 20 is to get to know my higher self and say, hey, if I have a connection to a higher source of who I am, I will always be taken care of, or always know what the right thing to do or to say or where I need to be. And so I dedicated my life to that relationship, that connection. And I also said, what gets in my way? Fear. I dedicated myself to overcoming as much fear as I possibly could and focusing on loving, period. Myself, others, everything. Because where fear exists, love does not. Where love exists, fear doesn't. So I dedicated my path really inward to work through my garbage, right? To work through my conditioning, to work through my fears, so that I could step into a place of loving myself, step into the place of light, so that I could hear that higher self, so that I could always be guided and connected. So I think a lot of times we're looking for the answer outside of ourselves, but I definitely know we find it within. Go within, heal your heart, heal yourself, learn how to love every aspect of who you are. Find that bright light within yourself, shine it into the world, love everyone you ever, every person on this planet, every creature on this planet. And that is how we're going to bring in this new age.
What a beautiful message right there. And isn't it amazing that so many people are turning off CNN, they're turning off Fox News, they're turning off the mainstream media and tuning into conversations like this in the
that
alternative
inner dialogue too. Yes.
Sorry?
Yes. That inner dialogue,
Yeah.
that connection between us. And,
Yeah.
it's all about presentation. You're only allowed to know what they let you know. It's very easy.
Yeah.
But in that, it's allowing us to empower ourselves more to go, well, if, we're being told everything that's going on, okay, I understand that, but I want to share what's going on as well so that we can come together as a cosmic family. Doesn't always have to be your own individual on your own. It's you need to define yourself, realize you're 100% and complete person and everyone else is 100% and complete. It's that type of fullness of the soul that for many years now, I've learned that the more love, energy, attention, and compassion I give myself is no longer narcissism. It's self-realization. I cannot give what I do not have.
Yeah.
I always say, hi, I'm Jamie. I'm no longer a hypocrite. As much of a service to others to keep myself included, because why would I not do that?
And that's the hope that I have for humanity, for people to wake up in the morning and just instead of listening to the news, listen to the conversations like this, from all around the world and uplift that vibration. I think it's happening more and more. I'm meeting more people that are getting into that. As you said, we're going into the Aquarian age, so the energy is just so beautiful. But unfortunately, with that beautiful light that's coming in, there's a lot of dark shadows that are trying to hold on to the blackness of it all.
Yeah. There's that, you never give up without a fight. Even in death, the body doesn't give up without a fight. Nothing happens without the fight. And the Piscean age was so controlling. It was, power in the hands of the few over the many. And now we're all asking ourselves, how do I claim my power? How do I be powerful in my life without looking to an authority figure to tell me how to be powerful, or that I have to do X, Y, Z, or do what they say to be powerful, or at least okay in my life? Now we're going within and finding that we have those answers. We have power. And if we're willing to step into that level of responsibility, we can attain a lot of energy and a lot of power in this lifetime to be amazing light workers on this planet and to really shine bright.
Yeah, 100%.
And the point is just know that we shine.
Yeah.
Because most of us stay in the darkness and don't let our inner beauty and light shine on it.
Exactly. That's right. 100%. Going back to the spirit realms, I know that there are like levels in the spirit realm, and until you get back to the ultimate source, when a soul gets back, to that whole oneness, what's next for them? Do they fall straight back to the bottom and start again, or what's your experience with all this?
How about if you just evolutionize from there? We are the eternal growth-seeking beings. And I found that this is just one planet. What if it's only to have the knowledge and awareness from this planet, how humans perceive it? So as you expand, you find yourself within the universal oneness. And there are universes within universes, dimensions within dimensions. It's amazing. So to myself, just my awareness is, one, we are already the end result, already the full manifestation of everything. And I have my master guide, because most of us are like, well, if it's already done and everything's on autopilot, my master guide was like, really? Is it really? So finding a connection, which I'm just kind of going off into a tangent here. What was it?
I was recently shown a cosmic egg, right? Which is your blueprint, your soul essence, your blueprint. This is like who you return to. But when this was shown to me, well, it was shown to me by a mentor I'm working with, Green Tara. And then she showed me another egg, and then another egg, and then another egg. And it kept expanding out. Once you know yourself here, then you go to the next level. And it's not even, they don't even call them levels. They don't use any type of comparing or competing type of energy descriptions at all, ever. It's just once you have this awareness, then there's a new awareness. And it literally will expand out to another cosmic egg and another cosmic egg, and it's infinite. It's absolutely infinite. And so we allow ourselves to know ourselves. And when we accomplish that, the oneness, then we go to more of the oneness. And it's fascinating. I don't know how it all works. It's multi-layered, faceted, like a jewel, and it's beautiful, but it is like a whole expansion, an infinite expansion of knowing who you are and knowing the universe.
And
as well as what we have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Go
right.
ahead.
And for people that are curious about how we incarnate into the physical, I know that there's you know, life life diaries and life roadmaps that we write out, you know, with our spirit guides and whoever else. How does all that play out?
I truly believe that you get these things arranged long before you actually incarnate. You know,
Yeah.
it takes a while for energy dynamics to come together. You want to be born into a family that you want to have certain experiences or a certain type of culture, a certain type of conditioning. So you're going to choose your parents, you're going to choose where you're born, your time of births, your astrology, you know, the celestial bodies of energy can influence you to optimize what you're here to do. And then once you get to that point, then we have free will on this planet. So does it go according to plan? But no, this is part of the grand master plan or the grand design, whatever we want to call it. There is, well, if they choose option A, it's like the storybooks that we used to read as kids. You could choose option A and you turn to this page and then your story goes that way. Option B, you turn to that page and your story goes that way. It's like that with every decision that we make. And then when you think about co-creating with others and those choices, what are the stories involved? And that's how realities are created, but that's how everyone's living their own reality at the same time. It's kind of hard to describe, but you can map out a lifetime, but once you get here, at least to this planet, there's free will. So nothing is completely set in stone. If you absolutely need something set in stone, you might come with a ton, like I said, you might come in with a ton of veils or a ton of type of energy. Like someone like Hitler probably had to come in with a ton of veils to be able to do what he did, right? I mean, he couldn't have, no one in their right heart can do that unless they have a certain level of conditioning and veiling that would allow them to do that. So he served his own purpose. He came in with something, a very specific mission that it took an amazing soul to do what he did. You know, yes, it was completely atrocious, but it was still a magnificent feat from a soul level to be able to do that. Right. But what did it take to be able to do that? You know, and he was very aware of occult and mysticism, very much aware that he had a purpose, you know, that's very clear. Yet he still was able to do all the things that he did. And so when we look at the grand design, we realize that you can structure it, you can put everything in place, but then you get here and then you're creating you're co-creating reality with yourself and with others.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
You know, and another dynamic with a lot of our experiences is we have our soul groups. It's love and comfort. And again, there are other universes and other groups. But a lot of times, other people, as we perceive it in our soul group, are like, oh, you want to go have that experience? You know what? I'm going to become that parent or this person, and I'll play my part beautifully. And I'll see you back here. And they're like, okay, here we go. Because when you're feeling amazing and you can see this life as an experience, because that's pretty much what it is, it only holds the value that we place upon it. No more, no less. You know, and I kind of get into that, the act of taking your own life or suicide, because many of us perceive many different things. And I can only share with me, but in doing this work, I always say life is relative and only holds the value that we place upon it, because if the act of taking your own life is always a bad thing and that means you're a bad person, my response is, wow, then I guess the person who jumps on that grenade to save the entire platoon's a bad person. Are you kidding? For me, I would have respect, appreciation, and gratitude for that person who did the exact action of taking their own life, yet in this circumstance, brought my family back home to me. And yet on one end of the spectrum, they're a hero. On the other end, they're a zero. I'll guarantee you no judgment ever on the universe's part. It's like, oh, you got here. Is it going, really? Is this how you got here? You can only get, really, is it? Or can we realize we're already the attainment and you could get there many different ways? Because there are infinite choices. And that quantum soup of life ingredient potentials that I read for people psychically, when those circumstances happen, because I said it before it happened, right? Because I'm psychic and everyone can do it. But I also make sure that they know if I'm saying that and then it's happening, I just want to make you aware of the potential that that future you out of the quantum soup of life ingredients choices, you've already put that together and chosen it. That's what also constitutes that deja vu. I haven't done it, but I've done it. I haven't done it, but I've done it. Yeah, exactly. Quantifiably, the most magnetic choices and the energy vibe has created that one that you're connecting with.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that, because that's a big one, with especially with suicide. You know, a lot of people just view it as such a negative and dark thing, but it's that person's journey, you know, and if they want to go home, it's their choice. And I love that you flip the darkness into a message of light and love about it. So, and yeah.
Well, and that's our ability, because, you know, this inner journey can be scary. You know, what am I going to find? Am I going to find anything? What the flag dog?
Yeah.
And so it becomes more of the unification of who we are, because so many of us, and just from my own experience, perceive that you'll never know what you're doing to another person. I'm like, oh, really? Because there's a time that I was sitting there out of the blue, and all of a sudden, whoop, in one instant, I became everybody that I've ever interacted with. I felt every single energy exchange in a brief moment, and came back to me. And the words that came to me on that one, how'd you treat yourself?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, that Solodex is the recording of everything in that way, that eternal beingness. And just for me, from my master guide Chi, is each one of us are the Akashic records. If you need to go to a hall or a beautiful place to go, that's fine. But each one is our Solodex of information as an eternal being.
Yeah.
So it's truly, from what I've been shown, even though we're consciousness and pure energy, from the heart chakra area, it's like a golden light that expands out and is a holographic picture, and it's all playing out real now. So you're able to get with those, connect with them. How do you feel? Do you want to perpetuate patterns? Do you want to change them? Do you want to create new realities? You know, so many different ways of connecting again.
100%. With the readings that you guys have done, there, without naming names or anything, what are the most beautiful, stories that that people have shared with you, and that you've been able to help people connect with loved ones that have passed?
You know, Jamie does most of the mediumship.
But that's a dynamic that I wanted to put the practicality of spirituality. I've done a lot of scientific studies with Gary and Rhonda Schwartz at the University of Arizona, which is in Tucson, Arizona. And we've done many studies, and we have now scientifically validated that consciousness exists beyond bodily death. My thing is that if we can do enough of the testings, the practicality of spirituality, and get that connection, you know, maybe there's something to what we're saying. Because my thing is I question everything. That way, if I get insight, okay, great. Otherwise, at least I'm questioning it, not going down that rabbit hole of ignorance, but of empowerment and self-realization. Because that's where we tend to go, is that rabbit hole is going to be nothing, really, is it? Or what if it's the nothingness that leads you into the potential of everythingness?
Yeah. And Maggie, for you, what do you love about this? What I can see it's your passion. It's and it just shines out of you. What do you love most about what you do?
Honestly, I just like it when people connect to themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is, like I said before, people are always looking for a teacher or this or that. I was like, go within, go within. I mean, teachers are great, but every great teacher points you back to yourself. So my biggest high in all this is when people discover who they are, when they like, oh my God, I'm amazing. Oh my God, I have energy. Oh my God, I'm eternal. Oh my God, my soul's amazing. Or whatever connection it is that they can make. And, when we ask about like really fun mediumship experiences and stuff like that, like honestly, Jamie's mom coming to me was a super cool one.
Yeah.
And it was just like, why are you here? And the fact that I knew who she was just a soul print recognition. I didn't know her in real life at all. And I'd only seen like maybe one picture of her. So for her to like just stroll in, I feel like the best parts of mediumship just happen spontaneously. Like you can call and get a reading from Jamie and he's going to be amazing and he's going to connect with your loved ones. But when you're connecting on your own, whether it's, anyone listening to this or you, the most empowering connections, they're spontaneous. They just happen out of the blue. And all of a sudden you feel the energy, you know who the soul print is. And when it's that strong, the message is so clear. The message is so clear. And I think once we get to a point where we trust in that and we trust that we can hear, those little random pop-ins happen way more often than we could possibly realize.
Yeah. I always love to end with messages of hope, especially in the times that we're living in. So what messages of hope would you love to share with humanity in this present moment in history?
One, as you begin to find yourself in life, just do you. That is how you're going to stand out. Because the more that we can just be us in the unique flavor of who we are, and then the passion for whatever it is that you have, that is what speaks to people. Because this is not only what I do, it's the essence of who I am. I don't know how to be anything different. And the great thing is I have enough strength and safety to stay connected to my spirituality rather than just tossing it and letting it go. My thing is hang on to this ride. It's a beautiful ride. And you've already made it to the end result. Now it's, how do you want to get there?
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to share anything, Maggie, on that?
My message of hope is always about loving yourself. I feel like when you can love yourself, you can love the universe and you can love everybody and anything in it. And finding those places where you don't have love are just growth edges for you. And you can bring light and love into them and consciousness. When you know yourself, you know the universe. And it's so simple. It's so simple.
And what is patience?
Oh, patience? Patience is faith applied.
Faith applied. I love that.
Right. Getting that end result, because you can have the faith, but once it plays out, now you've got a solid validation.
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier to go, okay, you know what? I'm going to allow the universe to bring it to me with a life flow, not try to make it happen with a life force.
Oh my God, guys, I'm buzzing inside. It's just an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. Where can people go and find you, support your work, and get into it of what you're doing?
Yeah, our podcast is Psychic Evolution, and you can find it on all your major podcast platforms. We also put our shows on YouTube as well. And then you can go to psychicevolution.net. From there, if you want to connect directly with Jamie, you'll see on the About Us page, there will be all the links below. If you click on the little globe below, it'll bring you to his website, which is jamieclark.net. My website is tarotevolution.net. And you can check out on all the things we have going on. Subscribe to our newsletter, and we put out newsletters when we have new podcast episodes, new events, and things about our mystery school as well.
It's all about the love.
Yeah, it's like sharing the love. Guys, it's everyone go follow Jamie and Maggie. They're absolutely amazing, and you're just going to get so much out of it, and it's just going to uplift you. If you're feeling down, especially with everything going on, they're just going to uplift you to levels you won't even imagine. So
you got a family waiting for you.
Yeah,
join.
Exactly. That's it. Guys, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'm very, very
such
grateful.
An honor.
Very grateful to have you on. And all the best for 2022 for you. It's going to be a big year. I feel it.
Thank you. I feel like we'll connect again sometime too.
100%. Anytime you want to come back on the show, my door's open.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Ciao. I am Roberto Roya from the Mystic Drop. You've been listening to Jamie and Maggie Clark. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.